Principle 3, authenticity, credibility. Credibility wins. Without credibility, you can get attention, but it won't necessarily stick and it won't bring you trust. You can have a flash in the pan moment. Take Vice magazine, take American Apparel, right? 2010s kind of examples. They were so cool. They were so hot, but the values that they were built upon are no longer relevant. Principles of misogyny, principles of chauvinism, sorry. They stood for other really interesting things, particularly Vice magazine did some really interesting work in journalism, no doubt. But the brand of Vice is no longer relevant to the zeitgeist, and that's why it's gone out of business. It's no longer relevant. It's no longer here with us. Same with American Apparel. It doesn't have the trust from the audience, which means that they fall away. Now let's do a little bit of etymology. Let's have a hot nerd moment. The word authentic, where's it even come from? The word authentic, oh my gosh, it's one of the most misunderstood, the most ambiguous terms we're using. So we are using it every single day. Just be authentic. No one knows what that means. No one knows what that means. We might have some versions of it. I know for me, I have to dig so deeply and I can never really land on anything particularly solid when I think about authenticity unless I bring it back to the etymology. To be authentic is to be genuine or original. Authentikos, from the Greek authentikos, to come from the originator. So to be authentic is to be you. And I think the thing that trips people up is, well, me, I mean, some parts of me are awesome, but also some parts of me are messy and scary and silly and dumb or whatever it might be. So when you tell someone just be authentic, and also not socially palatable. So when you tell someone to be authentic, particularly neurodivergent people who think very deeply and think in a very complex manner, and often in a literal sense, it's hard to know what that even means. To be authentic is to be original to yourself, to your own thoughts. But it doesn't mean that the story that you're presenting or the product that you're bringing to market or the content that you're creating is going to show all parts of that authenticity. It's going to show the parts that you decide are true to you, true to your originality, true to your genuine nature and self. And that's why they say content creation is one of the greatest personal development activities you can undertake, because you're going to be seen 360 and people are going to tell you what they think of you. And that's when you rise. That's when you become, that's when you have something to interface with to decide what you're going to leave behind and what you're going to hold on to, because that is what is genuine and authentic and original to you. Authenticity is absolutely crucial, yet it's a real art form to learn about. Okay, now credibility derives from the Latin verb credere, is how I'm pronouncing it. And that credere becomes multiple different words relating to credibility, but it means to believe or to trust. When someone tells me something, it's just like being a witness, yeah? A credible witness or a credible source. If a brand or a business says something to me and it feels consistent, trustworthy, correct, resonant, relevant, true to them, then it's credible. If it's not those things, I'm not going to buy the product. I'm not going to want to be associated with it. I'm not going to support it. I'm not going to tell my friends about it. It must be credible to the originator of the source. And you deliver credibility through evidence and repetition. So authenticity is the expression of something true to its source, which again, I really do believe on a human level, that is so complex. I'd be happy to give a workshop on it though. I have a whole framework to define what we mean by authenticity, the different tiers of it, etc., how to do it in a brand sense. I can definitely talk to you about that. But authenticity is something that is original, and then the credibility comes through repetition, evidence, being reliable, being consistent. And that's how we get trust. So very simply, in a business setting, in a government setting, I want you to stand for something clear and I want you to repeat it. And I want you to stand for something clear and I want you to repeat it. And I want you to keep iterating these ideas. I want you to make them clearer. I want you to make sure that they are in keeping with the world is at. I want you to make sure that you're iterating the richness of what you stand for, but always from the original. Keeping the source original, iterating the expression is how we get better at our authenticity. And then we repeat it. And that becomes our credibility. And the two work together. We iterate, we refine, and we keep doing that until it hits. Remember I talked about the cultural hit last week, 2 weeks ago? Let's talk about some examples. Now, I've got 3 case studies for you. I'm going to talk to you about Gelato Messina in case you're waning, getting bored. This is what we've got coming up in the next 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about Gelato Messina. We're going to talk about ice cream. We're going to talk about July luggage. We're going to talk about... Oh my gosh. I put it together myself and it's just fallen out of my head. Chapel Roan is going to be the example that we're going to talk about where it doesn't work, where something isn't authentic and credibility. Not Chapel Roan herself, but a club in Sydney. We're going to talk about July. We're going to talk about Messina. And we're going to talk about, oh my gosh, Naji Chu. We're going to talk about Lady Chu in Potts Point, the infamous Naji Chu. Okay, stick around with me. Now, Messina. What makes Messina authentic and credible? And I remember when Messina started, I think it was on Crown Street back in the 2010s when I lived in Surrey Hills. I was just thinking today when I was working on this case study, I remember back in the day at the very beginning, they were just Messina and then they became the Messina with the queues out the front, and then they introduced their tasting room and laboratory and then their iconic cakes, and they grew. And why have they continued to grow now with a huge facility in Marrickville, multiple locations, a national spread? Why are they still sticky? Why are they still credible? Why do we still like them? Why are they relevant? Why do we still spend money with them? Well, let's break it down. So Messina is Gelato Messina, based originally in Sydney. It has, like I said, national reach, but it has cult desire around it. Its resonance outcome, as we define it here, is a cultural obsession meets commercial consistency. Coolnomics. All right, why is Messina authentic and credible? Why does it resonate? Because they are culturally fluent, plus they have culinary integrity, really good ice cream and products that are packaged and productized and marketed in a way that is relevant, sticky, fun, entertaining, desirable. Cool. Okay. My analysis of it is that they are a powerhouse and they've earned loyalty through a long-term relationship with their audience. They signal fun, but that fun is delivered in behind the scenes. The infrastructure, the business, the supply chain, the systems are so well honed that they're able to deliver this thing, the fun, the desire, the beauty, the anticipation, consistently. They represent craft and fun and connectedness. And I mean, for example, those of you who follow them would know that their social media manager is funny, silly, chicky. That is part of the whole vibe. It's really yummy ice cream delivered at a very high standard with an edge of not taking themselves too seriously, very Australian, authentic and credible to the Australian vibe or way. Now let's break down what makes them authentic. So they give their ice creams names. I didn't pop them here, but they reference The Simpsons. They reference notorious they reference Biggie. They reference movies, music, and cultural moments that ensure that the ice cream flavors and products they're delivering to market are humorous and relevant and shareable, and also show that oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about? That's like a silent, right? Using a product name that is referencing a cultural moment is a silent, secret way of saying, hello, stranger who I've never even met before. You know about this thing I know about, and we both laugh at it. We both get it. We both think it's cool. We both resonate with what it represents. That's a secret way, a shortcut way, that's cool, of connecting human beings around a planet around one shared thing. It's ice cream in this setting, but you can apply the same principle to an election campaign. Okay, another element that makes Messina authentic to their source is that they are obsessed and dedicated to their craft. They roast their own nuts, they make their own chocolate, they make their own brownies. They are radically committed, not a little bit, not halfway. No, we make what we make from scratch because we love it. It's what we stand for. Is it more work? Yes. Does it matter? Yes. Okay. Finally, on the authenticity front, Messina's voice, like I mentioned before, Messina's voice, like they could have tried like a cheap sort of Italian theater, like, oh, I won't try doing an Italian accent. That would be cheap and silly. It wouldn't feel right for them. Another brand could do that, but Messina born on Crown Street, Surrey Hills, having a social media, I believe so, a Sydney brand for sure, having a social media manager who is like quite kind of bossy and silly and tricky and smart is, I believe, such a crucial factor in their mix. If it was just all sweet and cute, if it was just all nostalgic, if it was just all cultural references, that would be one thing. To me, the edge of that social media manager, the brand voice, grounds it. Also, anticipation makes you come back for more. Oh, who's she gonna tell off, or who's she gonna smack down today? Okay. They create their own culture by bringing a strong personality into the brand. Now, what makes them credible? Obsession with product centered obsession. So keeping everything really potent. This is not a weak brand. This is not a meek brand. This is, we are going to do it, and we're going to do it all the way, and we're going to do it with care. Secondly, consistency. Again, without the right business structure, the right supply chain, the right processes and systems, their quality would drop, as we see happens. I mentioned it weeks ago when I was talking about Supreme, and it was another private equity. Eljana is in the rounds for a $1 billion valuation, potentially being purchased by private equity. That could spell the end. Quality going down. When you take the originators out of the business, it's very hard to sustain the originality, the authenticity, the credibility. Private equity have got to fix this problem, by the way. Like, it's literally a Coolnomics problem that private equity have, that they're investing in businesses that they think are cool, yet they don't have the cultural intelligence to continue leveraging and expanding the cultural position and therefore commercial capability of that brand. Okay. Finally, Messina are transparent and clear about what they stand for in everything that they do in terms of their craft and the creativity of their work. They run masterclasses, they publish cookbooks, they have a laboratory that you can watch. It's sort of changed a bit now, but they used to have a laboratory on Darlinghurst Road, Victoria Street in Darlinghurst, where you could watch them make the ice cream. Again, championing the fact that how we make it matters. What ingredients we put in it matters. What we call it matters. What we do matters. That is at the heart of excellence. That is at the heart of authenticity and credibility. And so finally, I'll turn this into a carousel for Instagram so you can read it more specifically, and I want to keep this moving. But we can apply the resonance equation to Messina to start to see what makes them resonant. It's about culture, gelato, joy, curiosity, craft, etc. Okay, let's keep it moving. Excuse me, I need a little drink of my Kirk's no sugar, very culinary integrity drink. I don't know. I'm in a frugal era. I like drinking off-brand things sometimes. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite, Naji Chew. I used to live in Potts Point. I used to go to Lady Chew. I used to go to Miss Chew back in the day when she was on Crown Street or Burke Street. Naji Chew is an infamous restaurateur who has a restaurant in Potts Point called Lady Chew. Naji Chew has, first of all, she's transformed Roslyn Street. You can see there's a whole streetscape. Her restaurant cranks. She produces, and her team produce, excellent food. Great tasting, excellent food. This whole story wouldn't work if her product sucked. It doesn't. Lady Chew, Naji Chew, delivers an incredible culinary product to market. Excellent service, excellent food, first of all. But then the flavor. Naji Chew has taken over the streetscape. You might have read about it in the Sydney Morning Herald with her chairs and tables and her pot plants. And I think there's street lights, plants, etc. And then across the road, she's even set up a little lounge area for people to sit. It's a vibe. It's really cool. But City of Sydney had an issue with her taking up the footpath. And we can have a different conversation about access and wheelchairs. That is very important. I cannot deny that. But the way that Naji went about it, she even has fortune cookies referencing Clover Moore, the Sydney mayor. Fortune cookies available at her restaurant, using humour as a tool of dissent, let's say. Naji is on camera, Sydney Morning Herald, talking about her fight with the City of Sydney, with the council. And her patrons can go one of two ways. Now, when you go to Lady Chew, I used to sit there with my ex-boyfriend. We would sit there and watch people rock up at this restaurant. And if they were brand new and they engaged with Naji, they had the Naji experience, they might not get it. They might be scared. They might be offended. But if you know about it, you know that Naji's going to be pushy and edgy and funny and cheeky, and you're going to love it. And she's going to take good care of you. But if you don't know that, might think she's problematic or rude. Oh my gosh, come on. You don't know about Naji if you don't know about that. That is an example of cool. You need to know to know. And this, sorry, let me just keep moving through. I'm just ranting about this case study because I feel it and I've seen it in real time. I've seen her both generate interest, traction in the media without even meaning to, but she does know how to leverage it really well, whilst having a full restaurant of people. It's Coolnomics. Naji Chu is Coolnomics. Well done. And now she's painted the whole floor of her private dining, her function room, bright green. She's got a baby grand piano. She puts on a nightclub on Saturday nights. Like, no one else is doing it like her. And this is part of her rebellion. She is a refugee that came to Australia. She has had to fight. She has run restaurants before. She has succeeded and she has failed. And her spirit represents Potts Point. The reason she resonates particularly well in Potts Point is because I lived in Potts Point for 6 years. I love it. Potts Point is a combination of both tension and tenderness. In Potts Point, you have a lot of educated people, have a lot of wealthy people, but in Potts Point, you have to care about the community as well. There is a softness to Potts Point. There is a kindness, a tenderness, a care. You have the full vertical of the socio-economic scale in Potts Point. You have people living on the streets and also being supported by Wayside Chapel, right through to some of the most high value property in the city. Naji Chu is that. She is an avatar of the Potts Point community, and the Potts Point community are supporting her. And also the fact that she's polarizing is good. People are literally talking about her in the Potts Pointers Facebook group, which is one of the best, probably it's the only reason I would ever go on Facebook, talking about Naji Chu, and you either love her or you don't get it. And that's an example of cool. It's emotionally potent, culturally relevant, and authentic. Why is Naji Chu authentic? Okay. I've sort of started to cover it already. Every single detail evokes a particular mood. And as you can see this logo? It's literally a queen with her eyes, masked out. And then the tagline is, "That's the way we roll," which is a double entendre because she was the rice paper roll queen. But it's a double entendre because it's referencing the fact that this is just Naji Chu and this is how she does it. And so place as identity, everything that Naji represents and stands for is seen through every single touch point. It's both rebellion and quality in one moment. That is a compelling offer. Who wouldn't want that? And the learning for you is be emotionally potent. Don't be afraid of being polarizing, but you need to know what you stand for and you need to repeat it. Naji is a bit anti-establishment. Naji is here for the party. Naji is here for good food and a community, no matter what it takes. Consistent in everything. You have to respect her for that. And then sort of relating again here, that the creator's intent is clear in everything that Naji does. Her venue reflects rigor and rebellion, as I've already sort of said before. And then finally, cultural precision. So the menu is clear and sharp. It's not fusion. It's not trying to be Australian and Vietnamese. It's yummy, great, fairly classic in certain ways, Vietnamese food. And it's produced in a very specific way that only Naji and her team can produce food in that way. And it's done with pride. It's representing Vietnam in Sydney and in Potts Point specifically. It's held with reverence and respect. And it's delicious. Oh my gosh, it's 7:55. I'm taking too long. Okay. I understand if you have to drop off at 8 o'clock. I've got a little bit more to go. I'm going to take another 15 minutes. Okay. So happy for you to drop off if you need to. I apologize. I've been good at my timings. Not this week. I'm trying to be a bit more casual in my delivery, but that means I took my eye off the clock. Okay. Credibility. You can kind of see it here. I will upload this as a carousel afterwards. But Naji is incredibly credible in what she does. She is well respected for all of the different reasons, even her design integrity. She has great aesthetics. She knows how to design a room. She knows how to design an outdoor setting. And also, no matter what happens, she keeps showing up with accountability. She shows up on camera. She shows up to talk to Alex Greenwich, one of the councillors from the city of Sydney. She shows up and she is accountable, and she leverages outrage with humour. Again, humour, such an important tool. And then finally, I've done a full breakdown of what makes Lady Chu or Naji Chu and her restaurant resonant. You'll be able to read this on Instagram and LinkedIn on our channels after this. Okay, July. Luggage. So July is an Australian, Melbourne-based luggage brand, and they have revolutionized what luggage can actually symbolize and mean. And now they've just done their first collaboration with Qantas, with the world's first trackable suitcase. So solving both a practical problem of where is my suitcase at, and all, we've got a lot of issues going on with aviation and travel and finding suitcases. So solving a practical problem whilst collaborating with a national carrier was a brilliant idea and helped aid their credibility for sure. So July make suitcases. So I don't know if you know, but they're really cool. They're really cool suitcases that are both function and form. They look aesthetically appealing, as well as being robust and designed through a really streamlined minimalist design philosophy. And post-COVID, travel changed for people. Travel used to be a lot more about like where I'm going and what that means and what that represents. But COVID changed things, as we know, paradigmically, existentially. But something that we saw shift in travel was it's not just where you're going, it's also how you're getting there and how you're doing it. Precision and care and consideration. And that the travel itself, also with the increase of TikTok, I would say an algorithm like TikTok has also helped to amplify travel as a ritual. Oh, we're on the plane, or even before the plane, where we can charge our phone in our luggage, in our July luggage, we can charge our phone. We need our phone so we can create our content. Now we're on the plane. Now we've got our face masks. Now we're putting our hair in rollers. Now we're getting the champagne. Now we're doing it's a whole ritual. Every single step is being captured, and so therefore the suitcase is much more than just a practical item, shifting from just function. Also the form of it matters. It's also a form of identity. Let's move into this. Okay, so I've sort of covered this function and form, origin-led detail. So it's a really Melbourne brand, and it was built upon a frustration by the founders that there wasn't any cool and practical luggage, so they set out to solve that, and that I've sort of already mentioned this, that it's no longer about lifestyle theatre. We've moved out of the era of look at me, jet setting. Like, of course we have a little bit of course we have a certain amount of that, but the zeitgeist is becoming much more humbled. And that is because of an increasingly austere economy, but also a maturation of consciousness, a maturation of what matters to society, moving out of the sort of frivolous nature and overconsumption of the 80s, 90s, 2000, early 2000s, etc. The way we travel matters more. Being showy is not in anymore. It's not about being theatrical. It's about getting the job done in a beautiful way. All right, credibility. So the way that July deliver their product to market is consistent. They offer lifetime warranties. They offer trials, and they're constantly iterating. I follow the founder on LinkedIn, and he has a very open, consistent dialogue with his market, and talking about the way they design products and what matters. And then finally, in terms of credibility, I really loved this. When I saw that July collaborated with Qantas, I went, oh, there you go, Athan. There you go. Tick. Perfect. That was the perfect next move in terms of credibility and authenticity and the Coolnomics of it, the whole gamut. And a authentically Australian brand like Qantas with an authentically Australian brand like July coming together in a practical setting. Luggage that fits in the overhead bins of a Qantas plane, that is a luggage that is also trackable. You can find it anywhere in the world. Come on. That is so Coolnomics. Well done to the founder. If you're watching this, I'm really proud of you. You really crushed that. Okay. And then we've done a resonance equation as well for July. All right, we're getting there. Now, what happens when something is uncoolnomics? Monica and I were talking about that last week. You can have something that is Coolnomics. You can also have something that is uncoolnomics. They are leaving money and cultural capital on the table. Okay. Now, this is a few weeks old, I know, but it's an example of what happens when you try to do something by just leveraging cultural relevance and emotional potency, but it's not authentic and credible to you, the person doing it. So I'm sure you all know about this nightclub that was opening in Sydney, owned by Palms. I mean, Palms is an iconic gay club on Oxford Street in Darlinghurst, New South Wales, Australia. You would have thought they would have known better, but this is where, you know, people's cultural intelligence starts to become exposed when they enter into new areas, and sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? So they wanted to call their new club Pink Pony Club after the Chapel Roan song. Cute. That's all cute. Okay, that's culturally relevant. Pink Pony Club. Oh, that's a nice little sort of aesthetic name. Love it. Uh-oh. They coupled the new name with specificity around being, I don't know, was it 18 to 35-year-old gay men? Oh my gosh, Chapel Roan is, first of all, a femme queer figure. Secondly, she stands for inclusion. Thirdly, Pink Pony Club, literally the lyrics of Pink Pony Club is where we can all be free and oh wow. When I'm in this live stream and I try to access my memories, I find it really hard. I'm in delivery mode. I could totally sing Pink Pony Club, but I can't remember the words right now. But you know what they are, that it's all about boys and girls can all be queens and everyone's together. Anyway, very inclusive. So by calling this club Pink Pony Club and then limiting it to young gay men, there was huge backlash. Queer community, queer media, and even more broadly, this is a screen grab from Pedestrian, which isn't queer media, but it's Gen Z, saying absolutely not. This is inauthentic. We will not support this. This is inauthentic. It is not credible to the source. If it's Pink Pony Club, it needs to be queer, not just gay. It needs to be inclusive. It needs to be gender open across the gender ecosystem. And the material outcome from the backlash was they had to change the name. Yes, the market will tell you what is relevant and what it's going to pay for. This is an example of public rejection and a misalignment between the idea and its authenticity, what it represents, and the zeitgeist. That's why Palms works. And maybe they can get away with, not get away with, but they can own a bit of a niche of maybe gay men because it's palms. That it aligns with the tropes of campy palm trees. Not Chapel Roan Pink Pony Club. Come on, what are we doing? Okay, all right. I've managed to sort of. Sorry, I did do a whole analysis. I forgot that I did do that for you. But I've already covered all of this. They wanted to borrow some cultural heat, but if their values don't align with the cultural heat they were trying to leverage, it's not going to work.